In one of my recent videos, I shared some things that I regret buying, and I received so many great comments on that video with a lot of recommendations and things that I should try before I get rid of them. So I thought it'd be fun in today's video if I took your advice. I've cultivated all of the comments, I've gone through them and pulled out the ones that seem to pop up a lot, and I'm going to style those pieces based on those recommendations. I'm going to see if I like anything, if anything's working, see if you like anything, and then ultimately if I can find something that works well enough in order to keep them in my closet. So let's get started. So let's start off with the purple sweater first. I talked about in that video how much I love this sweater because the shape is really gorgeous, the material is great, the construction's wonderful, and I really like the brand. But when it comes to actually wearing it, I feel like this kind of purpley lavender color can be a little bit tricky sometimes, especially with my coloring in the winter when I'm really pale and I don't really have any color in my face naturally. I feel like it drains me a little bit and kind of counteracts some of the natural colors that I have. So with that in mind, I got some really great recommendations to try pairing this with a lighter color on the bottom. I believe in the video I wore it with black, and that was an attempt to kind of brighten it up a little bit or bring that contrast back to kind of match my hair. But I think that pairing it with a lighter color is actually a really great recommendation. It looks so much more cohesive and just feels a lot more balanced. The colors don't seem to be competing as much, and the purple doesn't feel quite as lavender anymore, but it is still a color that when I wear, I feel like I need to do a little bit more than I like to every day. So like right now as I'm filming this, I have just basic concealer on, and then I've got some blush on, lip balm, and then mascara. And I feel like I need to add something to kind of bump it up a little bit. So even with the lighter color on the bottom and really loving that, another recommendation that I got was to wear a rosier lip color. And for every day, that's not really something I like to do. It becomes a little too high maintenance for me, but I do think that it looks really great and it kind of ties it all together and makes it a lot more balanced looking and brings that liveliness back to my face that I feel like this is a little bit lacking with by itself. But altogether, these were some really great outfits and really great recommendations. Another recommendation that kept popping up again and again for the purple sweater was to pair it with a color that does bring that life to my face. So for me, one of my favorites is definitely navy. I find that that type of blue is really easy to work with and something I enjoy wearing. So I put together this with that kind of thinking in mind, and I took this beautiful blue scarf and then I matched it to the closest navy pants that I had. Again, keeping that color palette a little bit lighter rather than going for black, and I really love how this looks. I think these colors together are really elegant. It really ties it together in such a beautiful way, and it's definitely something that I had totally overlooked for some reason, and I'm really, really happy with it. I think it looks so good. So now let's talk about the ankle boots. So in that original video, I went over that I loved these in theory, but when I actually wore them, they just didn't translate the way that I wanted them to. And it comes down to, I think, the ankle and how the ankle doesn't fit the way that I prefer. So what I really prefer out of my ankle boots is a really slim fit and something that's a little bit tighter. I find that to be easier to style, it goes with more, and I'm able to wear it with my longer pants but also my cropped pants. And then most importantly, I can wear that with skirts. So it's something that I kind of overlooked until I got these, and they didn't really give me that. So you can see that they're a little bit looser around the ankle, and especially as it kind of like where it meets my foot or the top of my foot, it kind of billows out a little bit and bunches a tiny bit, and it doesn't give me that clean line that I prefer. So comparing them to my ankle boots that I love, I can see why I prefer those over these. But again, they're really beautiful in theory. So one of the recommendations that I wanted to try was to pair it with slim jeans and then a sweater. And I loved these colors together, this kind of like taupey color and then these dark jeans, because they go really well with the black. And I think that this looks pretty good. But again, in comparison to the ankle boots that I already have and love, I would probably just choose those over these. And that really comes down to the fact that when these jeans are hitting where they are on these boots, they look kind of like my other ones, so I might as well just wear those. Now let's try styling up this dress. So in the original video, I talked about how there are a couple things that don't translate the way that I want them to with this. The first one being the color. This is basically my skin color, kind of, and it really washes me out, and I feel very kind of like blah when I put this shoes color on, especially when it's a whole block of color like this. And then the other thing is the neckline. It's much too low, so I find myself constantly having to lift it up, and it's difficult to find the right bra for it, and it's just something that's a lot of fuss every time that I try to style it and put things with it. And then the other thing about it is that it's really long, and that's not really something I tend to go for because I find that the super long length can be a little tricky to style with different shoes and things. So one of the most recurring recommendations that I got was to swap the shoes. I think in the original video I threw on my brown ballet flats, but the way the lighting was and then how light this dress is, they looked black almost, and so it looked like a little bit too heavy for this dress. So I was recommended to try sandals or something a little bit lighter. So I've tried it with my kitten heels that are kind of the same color, and then also the espadrilles, and I think it's still kind of the same problem. And overall the total vibe of it, especially in the linen material, it just feels a little bit separate from what I tend to gravitate towards, and a little bit separate from me as a person and how I like to dress. Another recommendation that I got a couple times was to add a belt, and this is something that I think always works for the most part anytime you want to kind of break up your silhouette, and it's something I really like to do, especially with my longer dresses. But there's something about this neckline and this kind of baby doll style that doesn't really lend itself well to a belt. So I tried a couple different ones, but you can see in the cutaways that it kind of truncates it in a weird way, and then it creates this awkward bunching that just doesn't look that great. And especially in real life, it's just not really feeling the way that I would want a dress like this to feel. And then another recommendation that I got a couple times was to shorten the dress. And this is something that I really love because I like shorter dresses in general. I was going for something longer, kind of in this idea of wanting to feel a little bit more effortless and breezy and have something I could just throw on and not think about. But when it comes to actually wearing clothing, I like when things are a little bit shorter. I'm 5'3", and I like when things are just cropped a little bit. So mini skirts tend to be like regular skirts on me, and midi skirts can be a little tricky to wear in midi dresses. So shortening it is definitely something that I could consider for this, because you can see just by like playing with it and kind of rolling it up a little bit, it already starts to look better at shorter lengths, but it just feels like a lot of effort for something that I don't really love in a lot of other ways. So this is definitely something that I'm going to donate or sell and allow someone else to wear and enjoy, because I think it will suit someone else a lot better and someone else's personal style more than my own. So the last recommendation that I wanted to mention really quickly was to dye the sweater or the dress a different color. And especially when it comes to the sweater, I think it could be a really good solution, because I love so much about the sweater that changing the color could make it something I really love. So if that's something that you've done, definitely let me know. Let me know how I would do it myself or who I would take it to. And then let me know if you think it's worth it based on your own experience. And like always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Have a great day.